Life after your affair. It has been close to a year since my wife told me about her affair and I am still trying to figure things out. We have been married for over 20 years and have some great kids and I never saw this coming. Before this I would have trusted her without question. I am pretty sure that I have handled some things wrong over this past year trying to save our marriage, and I do still love and care for her. But it looks like we are headed for divorce. She told me about the affair over the phone while she was out of town on a trip. I had called to talk and share some stuff I had learned in a men's group I was attending about marriage. Things I thought would help us. She stops me and tells me that I will not want her once she tells me what she has done. She says she has found someone else, but it has not gone all the way sexually. It is a coworker and I feel like I have been punched in the gut. Well, I lose it for a few and get emotional. But I say I forgive her and I love her and our kids and want our marriage to work. I fly out to where she is and we have a crazy emotional week. Shocking, I know. And she lies to me several times, I figure out. During these first few weeks and maybe months I am reading everything I can on affairs and what causes them. I have always believed in cause and effect and it takes two to tango. I felt that there was something that I did also that caused this to happen. I was a real wreck during this time and very emotional. Sometime during this point, she did go all the way with the OM. We have been through several false starts and stops. And I have been on several sites that all say it is hard. Especially for women to make a clean break. When it comes to an affair. Long story short, I know it is over now because the OM broke it off. Because he says she took too long to make up her mind. I think things just got too real for him and he decided to cut and run because the fairy tale was coming to an end. Whatever. I have worked hard to keep things together and now she says she just does not love me anymore and that she is dead inside and wants a divorce. This is the Cliff Notes version of things, but I feel like all the effort and time that I have put in has been for nothing and feel like a bit of a fool. I did work on my flaws that were pointed out in MC, but she will not let go of the past. I feel lost and like a failure to my kids. I don't want to try to force someone to love me. I know that is just plain stupid, but it is hard to just let go of a life together. Any advice from anyone who has been through something like this would be greatly appreciated. P.S. I also should mention her hormones took a dive over the last 2 years and some depression also. I have read a ton that say that this could be factors. I don't know, I do believe that the affair was still a choice. I did have my part in our marriage issues, but there was still a choice to cross that line. Comments. Bud, a divorce doesn't mean you're a failure to your kids. If you've taught them well, instilled a sense of responsibility in them, gave them some morals, and most of all, loved them, then I think that makes you a super father in my book. I'm not typically a supporter of divorce, but I am a strong believer in knowing who you are and enforcing boundaries. I think you are too emotionally deep in the storm right now to think straight. You're wasting a numerous number of cycles on thinking how to save the marriage. Cycles best spent spending time and focusing on your kids, and focusing on yourself. You need to find your who gives a crap moment. That point where you realize you can't change the situation on your own, and that it's time to accept things as they are, and say it is what it is, and I can only go forward from here working on things that I can control. Dissociate your emotional entanglement by doing the 180, and all those other steps they talk about. Then, focus on you. Try to remember who you were when you first dated your wife. You were most likely a stronger, more independent person, someone who understood his boundaries and enforced them, someone who remembered he had interests and hobbies. This is the person your wife fell in love with while dating, and maybe, if reconciliation is in the cards, someone she may recognize again in the future, or the person someone else will fall in love with. And one thing I suggest, go join a martial arts class, an hour-long class learning how to break bones, while getting in shape at the same time. Somehow clears your mental focus, or do thus with jogging or weightlifting. Just do something for you. I joined martial arts. The oldest guy in the class, lol, but did those little punks ever get me into shape fast? Find yourself again, do the 180, dissociate, focus on you and your kids, then once you have mental clarity, things will seem not so much a doomsday event. OP responds, we are both in our early 40s and we are both still living together. We have been sleeping in the same bed until this last week when I moved to the other side of the house. I had come home and we were talking and she said once again, I just don't love you anymore and I am not in love with you and I can't seem to get those feelings back no matter what I try. I said maybe we should find a way to end this then. We went and talked and started to divide things up on paper. My flaws are that I did not protect her from my family and our marriage and that I choose them over her. At times I was not sensitive enough, but mainly issues with my mother, my one sister and a niece. She also has had major issues with her mother that have come up. I did see her point on these points and confronted them head on. Dealt with my mother directly and continue to do so. We have basically cut that relationship down to nothing. My sister lives 3 states away. I confronted her mom for her directly as well. The MC was impressed and gave me credit for the change. This is her go-to on how I killed her heart anytime she wants to fight or hurt me. She does say she feels guilty about the affair and has cried. Another reason she says she wants the divorce is that she does not think she will ever forgive herself. I thought the marriage was good. She does not believe me when I tell her I did not realize some of the things she has now brought to light and how much they hurt her. But as soon as she did, I changed and confronted the problem. I also read a book and it talks how most guys are just like me on this issue. We were drifting for around 2 years, I would say. We were both overweight. She was not when we first got married. I loved her like she loved me in all stages, but I started working out and she started working out. She asked to get a trainer, I agreed, and she has lost 100 pounds. Well, also had got into wanting to compete in figure competitions. Well, this can get expensive, so I had to ask her to get a job to help so we did not have to keep dipping into the savings. She has now stated she thought I was punishing her because I was not supportive of it. I have also lost 160 pounds. Getting physical since the affair has been few and far between, maybe 7 to 9 times in 10 months and now nothing. She has said she wants to get physical. She just does not desire it with me. Sleeping together was an issue in our marriage, but I always wanted to make sure she had to know. This feels weird to share. She was a good mom and our kids do love her. She is consumed with her competition now and depressed with the affair and what has followed. She is doing almost nothing around the house. We get heated when it comes to the kids. They are both in high school, and we have talked about joint custody and letting them decide. I have always worked for the most part and make a good living. Things are jointly owned. Okay, this is where it stings. He is not married but has been divorced 2 times with multiple kids from different women, works 2 jobs to keep up with child support, and has filed for bankruptcy. They no longer work together. I demanded that she quit as soon as I found out. The affair continued on different levels for around 10 months and ended 3 to 4 weeks ago. I did meet when I had brought her coffee or lunch to work. I had even offered to bring him coffee once. He is in his late 30s and they only worked together for a few months. No STDs that I know of. Both kids are mine for sure. I do believe this was the first time. Update. Tough day today. Lots of different emotions. Lots of soul searching today. Broke down a couple of times. It just sucks this place right now. Feels like everything is being blown up. I was not a bad husband. I know that I worked hard to provide a dang good life for her and my kids. Feels like I am being sentenced for something that I did not do. Just a tough day. Worked on the 180 today. Kept everything short and simple, but so did she. We go to the gym a lot. I went by myself tonight. Took one of my kids shopping for some cloths and we had a good time. I started asking some tough questions about divorce to professionals and what to expect. I would not wish the pain of an affair on anyone. I would have to say that it is the worst pain that I have felt in my life. I will try to answer more posts later. Thank you everyone for all your responses and advice. This has been the hardest thing that I have ever faced. Story 2. Problem. I am pretty sure husband is involved in a physical affair, emotional affair, or both, and at this point I don't think the distinction matters. Background: married almost 12 years, wife mid-30s, husband early 40s. No kids together, husband, 2 adult kids and ex-wife. False partners are likely to find about the other. W. Self-absorbed, transactional, lacking affection, doesn't want kids, won't do things with H. H. Attention-seeking, potential passive-aggressive, fair-weather provider, inconsiderate, likes talking to opposite sex. I will start off by saying that the dynamics of our marriage have been shaky for some time. A major problem in the marriage, thought H won't admit, is that I did not know for sure if I wanted to have kids until years after we were married. Yes, I know this is something people should discuss before marriage, and I genuinely believed I would at some point, but as the years went by and excuse, I came to realization I didn't really want to after about 9 years of marriage. Husband said he would like to, but not a big deal, though he would occasionally bring it up. He had kids when very young. Between that and my own resentment issues, husband is job hopper, not very stable yet big spender. We always had our issues, but generally thought the marriage was a decent 6 to 7 out of 10 most times. In the last few weeks things have come to a head in the worst way. Basically, I believe H has been having some type of encounters with women as of late and continues to talk to various women that I do not know when I have asked him not to because of things found in the past. The problem is that I never have concrete evidence and as a result, have been subjected to gaslighting. Thought didn't realize it, and I rug sweep as clues presented themselves, like dating profiles on multiple sites. He said signed up but no follow through all the way just because we were arguing. Finding explicit text on phone once from women off one of these friend finders. Said he didn't respond, was escort, but he just wanted to talk. Yay right. Finding things like dual movie ticket stubs, dinner receipts for things I was not with him for, yet he will deny he even saw the movie. To sum it up, there would always be an explanation for the stupidity, and I was always willing to go along to get along. In an effort to make more money and stable job, H is working out of state. His decision, I kind of felt this was partly to get away from home and expected some problems from the jump, so I did not agree to this but did it anyway. About a month into this, husband and has been taking large sums out of checking account, hundreds at a time, claiming adult daughter needed it. At the same time, I am noticing getting text messages from what I believe to be women. Also, at this time husband is being generally distant towards me. I even found that when I went to visits where he was talking to someone while I was there by talking to them earlier in morning while driving into work and before he came back to hotel. I am the cell account manager, can see the calls and texts but obviously don't know what is being said. When I confront H, he says he has no one to talk to and we always argue ... What? So, in the past I have prematurely made threats, separation, even divorce, but always ended up agreeing to reconcile to keep the peace. We are in the middle of a chapter 13 and I can't even begin to figure out the implication of trying to do a divorce now. H refuses any kind of acknowledgement of wrongdoing and keeps on with the activities, cake eating to extreme. I don't think I want to be married anymore given these circumstances, but I'm afraid about the future. H was my first, don't want to lose home and family respect. He won't come right out and divorce me and I have already done the false divorce alarm only to walk it back. Currently status, H is busy setting up household since will be another state and is not contributing to home expenses but says he will once he is settled in. I don't trust this, so I have since stopped contributing to joint account and in process of separating expenses and went in plan B mode with no contact with H at this time. I am trying to focus on me and lose weight and clear head. H made unscheduled visit home and I was livid as I had not been returning calls, text or emails and don't want to see him. H stayed in other room and drove back early next morning, no argument with me as I refused to speak with him except to say leave since he thinks it's okay to carry on with other women. I'm at an impasse and clearly an amateur at this, feeling so alone. A month later update. The situation has escalated. The long and short of it, same old same, suspected the husband was having an affair by a lot of text unexplained at the moment. Withdrawals and lying about whereabouts and time off. Did the confront, he denied. I did the plan B. No contact, started individual counseling. No attempts to reconcile. He lives out of town for work, so already technically separated. I think the affair has been going on for about 6 to 8 months, but I am just become aware. Even after the confrontation he still continued to contact her. I did not contact him. On a trip home this weekend threw down the gauntlet and with the her or me, and if it's her then this is what needs to happen. No divorce papers but drafted proposals. He refused to admit. The counselor said that before I can do that, I have to be sure it is indeed an affair and to contact the other party to see what they say. I did. They were shocked, did not deny on the call, just stammered, hung up on me. Then I texted apologizing if they felt ambushed but just wanted to know and that I don't have anything against her. No response, but texting still occurred between her and my husband. So, my husband was shocked by my call and text to her because I am not the type to confront. I told him we are not married as long as this contact is going on. He ultimately ended with her last night and was pretty definitive as I approved the text before he sent it. Then he agreed to change his number. It didn't end there. The next morning she had been texting him and he had not responded. So, she began threatening him. She ultimately showed up at my house 8 a.m. this morning, and he actually let her in. Meanwhile I have called the cops and the woman is yelling for me to down and meet her in my home. She is making all kinds of threats saying where she is from, who she knows, etc. I refused to engage her and remained on the 3rd level of my home while she is at the front door on 1st level. It was surreal. I'm on the phone with dispatch telling them and they were like he let her in. Granted, she probably threatened to break the glass inlet of the door or something, but I would have rather that so she could have been arrested. So, police say there is nothing I can do until she actually does a crime. Meanwhile the husband is going back to work out of state and this person lives in town where I am. I was beside myself with anger, hurt and shame. It's as if the woman wanted to see me so she could determine if he was proper in choosing me. Wife of nearly 12 years over her fling for a 6 months or so. Probably my projection of the situation. I did give her the satisfaction of my presence. Anyway, only the police, he and she, know about this as I am mortified. My community is probably thinking, yeah, another domestic situation. Never called the cops in my life. I feel trapped. This is completely new territory for me as I have never been verbally accosted to this degree in my life, especially for something like this. I had told him I was not going to fight for him and it literally almost came to that. We are talking like a couple hours from changing the number to her showing up. I have a very unique name on Google. The first thing that comes up is LinkedIn and property records. Duck, as far as letting her in. I suspect that in his mind leaving her outside was just going to escalate the situation, though of course I argue that it exacerbated it. His temperament is to try to be a nice guy but not realizing or understanding that he needs to worry about me and not her. Yes, a grade of garbage. As far as her status, I just found out from my husband she is divorced with 3 children, so the fact that she would leave her home Sunday morning and come to mine not knowing me or my own temperament. I am a registered G owner, is telling me of how she is not thinking things through. The cops are stating no P can be done until she takes action and shows up again, which they are stating they doubt will happen. They were essentially blaming me because I contacted her in first place, trying to find out what was going on with her and my husband since he wasn't talking. She showed the police the 2 messages I sent, which were innocuous, but is trying to play up she is the victim responding to me. Well played, I must say, because they are considering her showing up to home unannounced as a response, and it's nothing crazy to crash visit someone. We are still married, no legal separation, but we are physically apart because he works out of state and we are joint owners of the home. So, the police were like, he let her in, what do you want us to do? He says he only did that to prevent her from making a scene outside and damaging anything. Very stupid. Don't think we didn't have a conversation about that. I have changed my number as well. Some people may be wondering why I didn't go downstairs and confront her back. Well, the truth is I didn't think I could control myself with all the emotions brewing over the duration of this thing, plus the audacity of her to come here. If I was going to meet her, it's on my terms, not hers, just because she lacked self-control and came to my house because she couldn't reach my husband. It was pretty clear when she didn't arrive in a vehicle to the house. She could have just waited for someone to drive in through the gate and drove in after them, but instead of waiting for that, she walked through the side gate. Plus, I guess she wanted to be stealth. This is not a very upscale place with live guards or anything, and it's not a crime-ridden area. Even if locked, you could just quickly climb over if diligent. The violation was him opening the door obviously when she got here, which needless to say leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to who he was protecting. I am obviously not feeling very secure about his stance, especially with her letting her into the house at the slightest provocation. The trust is gone, and before all of this I had proceeded with financial separation as the physical, though he still comes home on his days off. There is a strict no-touching policy that has been in effect since I became aware of this. He has agreed to STD testing and to attend MIC with me. I had him to sign boundary agreement and other things to spell out the expectations going forward, and full confession and repentance to God, as well as full disclosure of events in MC. I don't know if he will follow through, but I will not unpause the marriage unless there is major measurable progress from his end, and even then, it will be incremental steps. I have verbally and in writing indicated the long road ahead to repair the harm caused by all of this. I am continuing, I see, to get a handle on myself and what I contributed to the downfall of the marriage, and what I can do for myself whether or not I am married to him or anyone else. This is a day-by-day process. I have the benefit of him not being here to really assess if I want to work on the marriage or bail. I don't want to completely tear apart his whole character over the affair, as this can come off as judgment, which is not my place to do. Yes, the actions with the affair are a strong indicator what he is capable of, and I can't assume he won't ping-pong, which why I haven't really changed anything except I am taking his calls and making demands and setting expectations. There is no honeymoon going on here. I am thinking the lack of affection from me and now the other women, assuming he is keeping NC, will drive him to stop and reflect and do the right thing. If he doesn't and is unwilling to do the work needed, then I will not beat a dead horse. I just want to know that I have done all I could to salvage things in keeping with the for better or worse part of marriage agreement. At that point, I will be confident about leaving the marriage because of the work I am doing with myself, and hopefully be stronger for it in the end. The staying upstairs was for my own sanity and not giving her the satisfaction that she can ambush me and demand to speak to me when I did not sanction her visit. Instead of calling or texting me back because I sent her a text just saying that, can you tell me what's going on? She came here as if to say, I will respond all right by coming to your house. I thought that was very confrontational. She is the one in the wrong along with my husband. The thing is, I don't think she would have come here though if my husband had not changed his number. Her surprised visit was more to hurt him than confront me, because she probably figured I would never forgive him for her doing that, as that is the pinnacle of disrespect on the top of the cake of the affair. My husband may be weak-minded when it comes to her, but I am not. One disturbing thing, she kept yelling up to me, I am older than you. I thought was an odd thing to say along with others thing, but that stood out. My husband is 41, she is 40, and I am 35. We are not worlds apart in age, but apparently she thought that was worth mentioning. Her visit has been documented by the police and I have an event number, but they didn't write a report as no crime committed. Again, husband let her in, so I don't expect another one, because I don't think she realized that I would call them and not talk to her when technically I did want to talk to her, just not like this. She got her point across to my husband that she will not be ignored and really make an exit since he ended it. So, she can't call me or him unless we give her the number. She stated to police she only was responding to me, but since I wouldn't talk to her, she will leave it at that as long as I don't contact her again. Though she didn't tell them, she came to stick it to the husband for ignoring her and changing his number. They told me not to text or call her. I told them to relay to her there will no further contact, and I expect none from her either, or the police will be immediately involved again. As far as sending her a letter or anything, I will let sleeping dogs lay. Admittedly, I feel like I opened the door to this thing by contacting her in the first place, though she took it to the next level. The only way I will get a lawyer involved is if there is further contact. I don't want to give her any ammunition to up the ante again if she is not actively doing anything. And fortunately, not close to neighbors. It's a pretty transient culture here and people keep to themselves. I am not running from her and I will not be a prisoner in my own home. She has been forewarned and I told the police that I felt very threatened given the nature of her visit and wanted that documented so that if there is another visit it is obvious her presence is unwanted. A month later, I already spelled out for him in a really long letter. I will post it below so you can see what I said. I would take him back if he showed remorse and made a real effort. Z, as you know, a lot has happened since the last time you were home. I have not really spoken to you about it since you have been back to work but need you to fully understand that I am having a lot of unresolved and uneasy feelings about the affair. Your lack of remorse. And now the recent visit from X. The whole ordeal is causing me to really question if you truly want to end things with her and work on the marriage. I did not say anything about it though I am really hurting inside because I want you to focus on work 100% while you are there. I'm sure you will agree that you absolutely can't lose or quit your new job no matter what is going on here or there given the financial situation at hand. Now that you are home, I need your undivided attention for what I am about to tell you. I am writing this letter rather than verbalize it to hopefully help you understand my point of view. The fact that you behave so indignant about ending contact with Q is causing a larger divide between us. I feel no sense of love, trust, respect, or safety in this marriage because of everything that has happened and the fact that you still refuse to accept responsibility for the affair or that it even happened. I cannot stress enough how much I am disturbed with your maintaining the lie that she is just a friend when all evidence is to the contrary and there is a lot of it. She didn't even deny the affair when I asked. When you tried to end things with her, I find it curious that her thought was to come to our home unannounced and upset. Not the actions of a friend to me. The fact she was able to come straight to the house sickens me. All I can think is how many times has she been here and if she has the gate code. When she got here, you calmly announced to me that she was outside, never asked how she got here or anything. It was like a pizza arrived. She was just here almost immediately, which is not a surprise given where she lives. I am actually not surprised that she came here as I am for you letting her in. I mean, you knew she wasn't coming here to sell Girl Scout cookies, but you opened the door. WTF. It's bad enough that you cheated on me with this woman, but to let her into the home we share. I'm speechless. Anything could have happened from this one action. She could have shot or stabbed you or me, had someone with her to beat us up or done who knows what right when you opened the door. I could have overacted and took matters into my own hands because I felt threatened, and we all could have had a situation that caused injury or arrest. This hurts because it's so disrespectful on so many levels. I don't believe your explanation that you didn't want her to damage property. The whole time the commotion was going on, you did not once have my back at all and sought to look out for her best interest rather than mine. I was not treated like your wife, she was. It hurts because it was your gut reaction. It was involuntary that you protect her. Her feelings and I was secondary in the equation. I think you longed to see her. Why else would you have opened the door and took that risk? When the police officers arrived, they were confused about who was who when they got here because you were so involved with her. This episode showed me in an instant that you cared more about her going to jail than our safety or well-being. You let her in our home despite knowing what has been going on between you two and had no regard of what I felt about her being in the home. At one point you actually left her downstairs unattended when she could have literally done anything to hurt us. It was like you were spellbound or something. I have to say, I hated your whole response to situation and for putting me in this position. The fact that you have done nothing to fix it is salt in the wound. Whether you realize it or not, your actions multiplied the ultimate betrayal I was already experiencing because it's a testament to where your concern and loyalty is. You may think you know her and can anticipate what she will and will not do, but you obviously don't. She has demonstrated that she is unstable. No one in their right mind would have pulled the kind of stunt if they are thinking clearly. Q kept saying because I sent her message so she was simply answering me. No, she was manly sending you a message that she won't be ignored. She had no intention of ever answering me until she couldn't reach you. She had several days between my message and her showing up here. And what happened in between that time? Your phone number changed. Don't think for a second that I don't know that. Despite what she said, you cannot equate sending an innocuous text, call to someone to her showing up to our house uninvited. Please keep in mind I have been faithfully married to you for nearly 12 years, so I was highly upset with the situation when I found out what was going on. I wanted to know who this person was so you could not deny knowing them. I had been holding on to her information for quite some time. I actually had no intention of ever contacting her because I am married to you and you took the vows to faithful to me. The fact that you threw it away so easily is really not her fault. Still, because you refused to be honest, I contacted her against my own principles because I simply wanted the truth, even when it became apparent that my worst suspicions were true. I did not show up to her home or job raving like a lunatic. If anyone deserves to feel used and betrayed by this, it's me. How dare you let her in here so she can show me how devastated she is by all of this? Coming here was very bold of her and leads me to think she is trying to control you and to humiliate me. The fact that you allowed her to yell at me in our home and completely disrespect me is a major stumbling block on why I don't believe you want to move forward. The whole time she was here she was making random miscellaneous comments like saying she is older than me ... How would she even know that, and why is that a factor unless you made it one? It had the feel of being taunted by a bully with her trying her best to intimidate me. It was utterly ridiculous and unnecessary. You let her remain comfortably in our home for nearly an hour insulting me when you could have just escorted her out and avoiding any further escalation, or simply let her remain outside where she belonged. When you came upstairs and expected me to kowtow to her because of what she wanted me to do, to come down to her level literally and figuratively, to tell her even as she is disrespecting me in our house. I was flabbergasted. If that was truly her goal, she could have easily called or texted me, which is the mode of communication that I used when I contacted her in the first place. It was out of line for her to come here unannounced and very disrespectful. Point blank. I guess she meant to ambush both of us. I need you to realize that there was no way I was going to allow her to make demands of me when I didn't sanction her visit. She is the outsider. Just because you made her feel important doesn't mean I have to as well. Yes, I wanted the police involved to fully document her as being an intruder from my point of view since you let her in. I heard her say a lot of interesting things that made me wonder even as I was trying to give my attention to police dispatcher. The police dispatcher could hear it and even warned about going down to confront her because they wanted to know where everyone was and what they were doing before the officers entered. She told me because was let in by you if anything popped off between you and her or her and I, the participants would be going to jail, period. When this was going on, I felt so alone and completely uncared for and unprotected because you were too busy protecting Q, worrying about her and her kids. Do you know how this sounds to me? This is all when she is actively threatening us in our home. Seriously, I can't get it out of mind what you said to her and how you acted so heavily in her favor. The police officers actually told me that you haven't decided what you wanted to do, so I best protect myself legally since you didn't want Q to leave. They were like, your husband has not asked her to leave, ma'am, so we can't force out your husband's invited guest. A guest, basically the woman you have been cheating on me with, is now a guest in our home. Unbelievable. I heard her say it would not be easy for you to let her go, and boy, I can see that clearly now. Insult to injury is the fact that should she decide to do anything else at any time, she lives minutes away. Awesome. She not only does she know everything about you, she obviously has been told things about me, so I'm sure she will time it perfectly. Trying to overcome the betrayal of the affair itself and the fact that let you Q into our marriage and into our home is taking a lot out of me because you show no empathy, understanding, or just basic concern for me. Not once did you ask her to leave even when I was yelling at the police to get her out of here. And she loved it. She was rubbing my nose in the fact that she had your full attention. Never mind that she had for a while now anyway, but now I am an actual witness to it. Now you act like this is my doing because you feel I wanted to talk to her, so this is what I deserve. BS. Since this has happened, I have been having nightmares of her coming back with her family like she threatened, and thinking I will have to take the ultimate steps to protect myself. The whole thing replays in a loop in my head with you first letting her into our home and then the commotion of her mocking and taunting me, like purposely saying my name wrong over and over. Yelling as she is older than me. She's not from here. She'll get her family out here. You think it's so easy to leave her. She knows people in security, etc. I can actually still hear the distinct voice. I was already heartbroken with the affair anyway, but this pushed my anxiety, distrust, and disappointment of you way over the edge. Based on your reaction to Q when she was here, I do not believe you are being truthful with me when you say you are not contacting her. The way that you talk to me about this leaves an impression that you didn't really want to end things with her in the first place. It's like the only reason you did it because I asked you, not because you wanted to and knew what you were going was wrong. That's not good enough. I'm guessing she doesn't believe it either because your actions seem to indicate you will pick up where you guys left off when things supposedly cool down, which I believe is why she came here, by the way. From all appearances, she will continue dictating your actions. I find it amazing that she has managed to really put the reins in on you in such a short time and you don't even realize it. She was actually yelling to me she has nothing against me when she is one screwing you for months when I'm your wife of almost 12 years. Really, what should she have against me? The both of you understood that fact that you were married but did not care. Do you not see the irony in such a statement? You committed adultery. I didn't know about her at all. No, we are not equal and I will not behave like we are. Bottom line, with this escalating the way that it has, I won't accept you keeping secrets from me. I need full disclosure about her, and if there are any other women you have been dealing with, I need to know how the affair started, what exactly took place, when and where. What caused you to seek this relationship? Why her specifically, and what's to stop you from seeking her out again? What's to stop you from cheating again? The affair is a major violation of the marriage vows and is an indication to me that you are not faithful or trustworthy. No more denying and lying will be tolerated at this point. You need to be tested for STD since you are the one who went outside the marriage. Q said that this was no big deal to her, so you probably weren't the only one she was dealing with. You have broken the feeling of intimacy and safety in the marriage, so what now? I don't even feel safe in our house anymore after all we have done to keep it. It's amazing how just a few minutes of craziness can erase the good feelings of fun, safety and security enjoyed here for almost 10 years. It's that serious. So, I have asked myself numerous times and prayed to God for the strength to try and forgive you and see if we can salvage the marriage, but I don't believe you are in this with me. You still have not acknowledged any wrongdoing or made any attempt to atone for affair. You believe that I'll have to announce that you'll stop talking to Q and magically our marriage will be as if nothing happened. Surely, you must know by now that at least for me, all trust, respect, intimacy, safety, romance and everything else has been completely destroyed and is going to have to be restored before I can consider if there will be reconciliation of the marriage. What are you going to do about all of this? What steps are you going to take to rebuild the marriage? I am not going to do all the work while you stand idly by reluctantly agreeing with me just to make things comfortable. If you are not willing to do so, then that is fine, but at least be honest about it and we can dissolve the marriage as previously discussed. I would like your point of view and receive some constructive dialogue on what the best course of action is now that you are home and can focus on the problem. In fact, I expect you to take the lead since your actions ultimately lead us here. Sometime later, well, it turns out after nearly 12 years of marriage, STBXH decides to have an affair. Then tries to false R multiple times and now attempts to give me an ultimatum that he won't try for true R unless I agree to have a child with him, which will show him I am not holding anything against him. Needless to say, I declined and preparing for divorce. The H has no idea. I have not unpaused our marriage since I suspected the affair, and I believe he continues to see the other woman and also online dates, so I will not resume anything, and he is very frustrated and acting out, with this last stunt being the latest. Anyway, as ridiculous as this scenario is, I am still very upset with the prospect of being single again, but ready to end this once and for all. Few months later, overcome with loneliness and anxiety, no companionship with another person for over 7 months now, and not sure how much longer I can stand it. We cannot agree on terms for the divorce, so filing on pause. Meanwhile, packed up the house, selling everything or donating it. Still awaiting job transfer for move to Hawaii that should be wrapped up in a month. Threw away all items associated with us as a couple. Haven't lived as a couple in nearly 8 months since his affair was suspected. I am crazy right now with every fiber of me crying out for affection. People say it's wrong for me to want companionship when my divorce isn't final. I don't want to start anything since not ready, plus could be leaving the mainland. I am the one punished for being faithful. I know life isn't always fair, but this seems so cruel. I just want to affectionately be with someone else on the upcoming anniversary to commemorate moving on that date. Irrational, I know. My thought was to get my feet wet before the move, since I expect the whole rebound thing to be its own issue. I figured let the first and most likely to be epic mistakes be made and left behind on the mainland. However, the first relationship after I get there, I suspect it might be trickier for me because I will really be lonely with no support, thus more vulnerable to want a more stable but still open relationship. I am just getting used to the scene and what is even normal dating, though it's hard to meet people where I am. So many people in my age bracket are now wanting to settle down and have kids, and I want the opposite. My comment: what you guys think about this long story and its ending? Have you moved to somewhere far to start a new life after your divorce? Comment down below, sub and bell, and I will try to get more stories out ASAP.